Community through business, building relationships, and building Waterloo Region. 570 News presents Business to Business, powered by Save on Energy. Here's your host, Glenn Pelletier.
Welcome to Business on 570 News, powered by Save on Energy, offered by your local electric utilities. And once again, welcome, gentlemen. Ian McLean, president of the Greater KW Chamber of Commerce, and Greg DeRocher, president of the Cambridge Chamber. Gentlemen, we have a jam-packed show today.
Oh, boy, we're going to be talking, Ian's sitting right beside me. He's going to have to control me because, as you can hear by my voice.
How did that happen, by the way?
Well, I'm not quite sure. I just woke up with laryngitis all of a sudden on Friday morning. I suspect that it's because of the subject matter we're going to talk about, Bill 73, not getting through the House. I'm not sure whether I woke up in the middle of the night screaming, but I just woke up with a throat on Friday morning, and here we are.
Well, last week we did focus a lot on Bill 73. That's Tory MPP Michael Harris's bill that he has tabled at Queen's Park. And for those who missed last week's show, can you just give us a refresher on what Bill 73 is all about?
Yeah, Bill 73. What we've had is the Carpenters Union has an application before the Ontario Labour Relations Board to be certified as the only union that any construction work for the region of Waterloo can be affiliated with. Effectively, what that means, as an example, I think we said last week, the wastewater plant that's being built in the region, or the program that's being done by the region of Waterloo, there was 27 qualified bidders when they bid it. That would be down to 2. So we all know that means that's not, and
up by millions.
And we'll hear today from the CAO from Sault Ste. Marie what that's meant. They've had this in place for 20 plus years and how it's affected them in a very adverse way. The potential follow-ons for affiliated organizations like utilities that may be affected by this type of ruling. We're going to have Michael come on and tell us what happened Thursday about with his bill, which is why both of us are not very happy. And then we're gonna actually have Alan Odette, who's the president of the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, because we have been pushing the OCC very strongly, saying this is the number one business issue in the province.
On last show, we mentioned that Mr. Harris was going to be making another presentation at Queen's Park. You dropped a hint, and we'll get into it later with Mr. Harris, but what happened?
It didn't pass, 50
to 32.
50 to 32.
So the NDP and the Liberals either didn't show up or voted against it in sufficient numbers to vote it down.
And the reality of it, this is a fairness bill. This is about fairness. And every single politician that I've ever heard has always talked about elect me because I want fairer and more open government. And this was actually called the Fair and Open Tendering Act. Yeah. So, I tweeted it out the other day that I was disgusted, and I'm still disgusted about it.
Are there no options left now for?
Well, we're going to hear from Michael what is next. I mean, what we're going to be doing, and whether this is a private member's bill, which obviously didn't go anywhere, and that's probably done. But we're going to be putting pressure on all three parties, including especially the Liberals, to table a government bill that solves the problem, because anyone that doesn't agree that there's a problem has got their head in the sand or is playing politics, and that's truly unfortunate. In any event, we're gonna get back to that. Yeah. But right now we've got Sarah Colvin with us from Save on Energy, and Greg,
Sarah in studio. Wonderful to have you here, and Ian wants to talk to you about this symposium because I again have this little throw, but I got a good question for you later.
Well, we need to save his energy so he can ask that question.
Save his energy.
Yeah, I threw that in there.
Anyways.
Last week we talked about the Save on Energy and Energy Symposium you've got planned. I think it's coming up next week. So remind our listeners about it. In fact, I was at a conference yesterday, and someone was a week early for it. They were so excited about it, they came to Binghamton's a week early. So I told them that to listen to Business to Business at 12 o'clock on Sunday, and Sarah would tell us all about when and where it is and how to register. So give us a heads up.
Excellent. So coming up this Thursday is our 4th annual Save on Energy Technology Symposium. It'll be at Binghamton's and Marshall Hall. We've got 60 exhibitors. It's our first year selling out of booth space. So obviously people are finding it worthwhile and want to continue attending and have the chance to connect with local businesses. So we have exhibitors who are consultants, product vendors, those working in the energy efficiency space, and then a variety of speakers going on throughout the day as well. So it's a great place to start if you're looking to do something about your costs within your own business.
How do you register? So just so we get that on a couple times, how do people register for
Sure.
it?
You can visit saveonenergywr.ca and register right from the website. It's free to attend, so all businesses are welcome to attend. There's no charge.
Great.
Or you can give Sarah Colvin a call at Cambridge and North Dumfries Hydro.
Sure, you can call me.
Absolutely. Sarah actually, there's a great partnership between the three hydro utilities in the region of Waterloo. And Sarah's actually, this is her responsibility to lead the charge with the symposium. So, we're really excited about it too. And we've adopted, as you well know, Sarah, in the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce and Greater KW Chamber of Commerce, we've adopted a lot of the energy programs that hydro utilities have set out. But what's interesting to me is you're a unique business. You're private corporations. You're not unlike any other business that operates. And yet, there's one thing that you do differently from everybody else, is you try and encourage your customers to use less of what you sell. How do you make a business work like that?
It's kind of like being a dentist.
It's an interesting scenario. And a lot of customers even will ask about that. Or sometimes, when you go in and you say, well, you know what, if you're going to spend some money, I'll just give you 50% back on that project. So that, you're using less energy, but we're also paying you to use less energy. So you've kind of got two components to it. I think the biggest thing that comes down to it is that as a corporation, we feel a responsibility to our customers and to help them with their energy costs, to manage that. When a customer becomes more profitable, they hire more people. They can invest back in their business. They invest in the community. They grow, and ultimately that can improve our business.
Mm-hmm. And I think the other thing is it's no secret that in order to provide adequate electricity for a growing society, the cheapest way to do it is to reduce the consumption of the existing society. So create that capacity within what we can generate today, and that's going to provide for the growth, where it's very expensive to build a nuclear power plant or whatever the case may be.
Exactly. And the money that gets invested into conservation, it funds local jobs. I mean, the economic benefit alone of what goes back into local lighting suppliers, local electricians, labor, groups like that, it really does kind of have a spillover effect. It's fantastic.
How would you describe the response, like the appetite for this kind of thing? Because it seems like people are really getting the message to be, ecological, not just in terms of, litter and that kind of thing, but energy conservation. Do you get the sense that the public is kind of turning on, no pun intended, to this to this program?
I do, and I think it comes into sustainability, and every business owner, every employee is motivated by possibly something a little bit different. So it could be your greenhouse gas footprint, it could be about reducing the cost to your business, but this is something that everyone can get behind for a different reason. And when you really boil it down for a business, just the same way we're a business and we're talking to businesses, it really is about the bottom line. And so for us to be able to help a customer work on that, and the money that you invest into energy efficiency usually improves equipment in the plant. You have customers who are happy. You have products that show better under, correct lighting. Yeah. But you've got a reduced bill at the end of the month as well, which can really have a great impact.
Okay, we're going to wrap up at two quick questions, or one quick question. You'd mentioned speakers. What are the types of speakers that you have and that might interest someone in registering? And then remind us again how to register at the website and your phone number, so that anyone interested on Sunday can get registered for next Thursday.
Perfect. So our first speaker, starting at 10 o'clock, is going to be on LED lighting. So we'll talk about great applications for it, how to calculate payback, what the advancements in technology have been. We'll also talk about heating and cooling for facilities. So as we're kind of getting into seasonality changes, this is a good time to start planning for next summer, putting things in your budget, what those opportunities are with your comfort system. We'll be talking as well about the Demand Response 3 program and hearing from customers who are going to come in and talk about their experience in the program, which is basically a load curtailment or shutting down parts of your plant and getting paid to do so. And then we'll also be talking about compressed air systems. And again, just kind of like lighting, like HVAC equipment. It's something that touches every business, from an auto mechanic all the way up to a large industrial. And there are huge savings. Most of our projects that we do on compressed air have a 1-year payback.
Wow, that's amazing. That's great. So where do they register?
SaveOnEnergy.wr.ca, or you can call your local electric utility, Waterloo North Hydro, Kitchener-Wilmot, or Cambridge.
Fantastic. You're delightful to chat with. I was great chatting with you last week as well. Sarah Colvin was our guest, kicking off the show, and very appropriately enough, Sarah Colvin with Cambridge and North Dumfries Hydro, as we are powered by Save On Energy, offered by your local electric utility. Sarah, thank you. We're coming back with more as Business to Business continues on 570 News.
Business to Business, powered by Save On Energy, a presentation of 570 News. Watch the live video webcast at 570news.com. We'll return with more Business to Business. Just what you know. It's who you know. Connecting community through business. This is Business to Business on 570 News. Powered by Allstream. All local, all relevant. Allstream.com. Here's your host, Glenn Pelletier.
Welcome back to Business on 570 News, powered by Save On Energy. And as we said off the top, we talked at length last week, and we got into it just briefly this morning, this afternoon. Michael Harris's Bill 73, and we want to welcome him once again to the program, where he's going to bring us up to speed on what happened at Queen's Park and where we go from here. Gentlemen.
Yeah, Michael, on Thursday, your bill made it for what was, I guess, second reading in the legislature. We're not happy. We've already signaled that, but I want you to give us the sort of the blow-by-blow of what happened Thursday and where we are now, because the important part moving forward from the Chamber's perspective is we still got a problem. So let me, what happened with your bill and what's next, and what are the things that can happen legislatively in Queen's Park to solve the problem?
Well, thanks, Ian and Greg, for having me today. Clearly very saddened and disappointed that Bill 73, which was a thorough, well-researched piece of legislation that would restore fairness and preserve fairness in the construction industry on regional projects or even infrastructure projects across the province, was defeated by the Liberals and the NDP on Thursday. In a crucial vote, really, that would allow this piece of legislation to at least go to committee and have a conversation. They disallowed that, and really they turned their backs on our municipal colleagues who asked resoundingly the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, the City of Waterloo, the Region of Waterloo, and the City of Kitchener all asked that a further conversation happen on this, proceed with this piece of legislation to ensure that we restore and preserve fairness so that we can allow qualified contractors across Ontario to bid and work on public infrastructure. And I'm saddened and disappointed that it didn't proceed.
I wish I was just saddened and disappointed, to tell you the truth. You can hear my voice, Michael, and the reason is Thursday night sometime I must have woke up in the middle of the night screaming blue murder about this, because I woke up suddenly Friday morning with laryngitis. But I think this speaks strictly to politics. This is just politics. There's no question about it from my perspective, and you don't have to comment on that, and that's fine.
Well, I'm happy to do that.
Oh, I know you are, but maybe you want to save that. However, what my concern is going forward, what do small contractors in our community and other communities around Ontario, what can they expect can come out of this? In spite of the fact that Ian and I have said we're clearing our desks off, this is a priority for us, we're going to hammer this, we're going to, no pun intended, we're going to hammer this nail till it's into the wood, and we're going to make sure something happens. But going forward from a government perspective, what can happen?
Well, the change needs to happen at Queen's Park. Even the Labour Board says that, listen, we have to interpret the law that exists today. No municipality has ever been successful at the Labour Board disputing the fact that they're not a construction employer, and so it clearly doesn't work. My bill offered a sound, constitutional, well-researched solution to a problem that exists in Ontario, and it's hard to believe that and I spoke to this in the legislature on Thursday, that in Canada we would take away the right for a qualified contractor and their employees who work and live and pay taxes in their community from working on public infrastructure simply because they don't hold the right union card or they've chosen not to hold one at all. And that's just not in Canada. That's a right. This is discriminatory against those people. As I'd said before, 70% of companies potentially in our region who have worked on infrastructure for decades, who have built the bridges, the water treatment facilities, the arenas, and who again live and work in our community will be shut out from doing that. And that is not fair. And so, again, it's unfortunate that occurred. The change needed to happen there. And my colleagues on the other side put partisan interests or special interests ahead of the wishes of taxpayers, contractors, and their municipal colleagues.
Okay, so let's take a step back here, because I think it's important that we get the table set, that our listeners and the business community understand why we're going to be very aggressive about this, and we'll leave the aggressive part for a future day. But
I'm older than you, so I'm a little feisty.
No, but I want to just sort of lay this out. What happened Thursday was your bill was going for second reading, which in my understanding is that if it was passed, even with government or the NDP support, it would go to committee, and that's where the bill is explored. That's where all parties are able to put amendments forward and improve the bill. So if you agree that there's a problem and your bill is not the solution, whether it starts as a private member bill, it could have been changed wholesale by amendments. So now, I just wonder, is that the way? The first question is that what was going to happen on Thursday? So that whole process of improving it is completely shut down. And the second thing is, what is the politics of this? Because I spoke to Charles Sousa when he spoke to the Chamber of Commerce a week ago, last Friday, and told him that this was the biggest issue our chamber was going to deal with, and that Greg and I would do nothing other than this issue until it's solved. I spoke to Andrea Horvath when she was in town 2 weeks ago, and told her that the same thing. And both of them have obviously I've got pressure from whether it's the building trades or the labor union movement, but to not even allow this to go to a committee to be improved is absolutely, and it is appalling. It's disgusting, and it's appalling.
Yeah, second reading was a crucial vote, and it's basically dead in the water. I mean, it's dead by not passing second reading. And get this, guys, when it came up for a vote, it actually passed on a voice vote. I mean, when the speaker says, do you agree with this, yay or nay? He said there was more yays than nays. But my colleagues on the other side, the Liberals and NDP, rose to force a recorded vote against. And so it could have passed just simply on a voice vote. To get into committee, and you asked me last week, am I open to suggestions, to amendments, to changes? Absolutely. And I was willing to have that conversation, although it was a well-researched constitutional piece of legislation that had the support of 440 municipalities. I was prepared to have a further conversation, get those building trades into committee, get the municipal partners, get construction companies across the province in and hammer something that could work. But they refused to have that conversation. The politics of it is special interest, that they're empowered and emboldened by these groups to preserve a monopoly on this work and shut out those contractors whose members you represent from bidding and working on local infrastructure.
We're in conversation with Tory MPP Michael Harris, Kitchener-Conestoga MPP, whose Bill 73, the Fair and Open Tendering Act, was defeated at Queen's Park this past Thursday by a combined vote between the Liberals and the NDP, and he's in conversation with Ian and Greg.
Yeah, so, I mean, moving forward, I'm still flabbergasted didn't get the past second reading, but let's leave that aside for a moment. The next likely opportunity, and we'll be speaking just after you with the president of the Ontario Chamber of Commerce, Alan Odette, who's the president of our provincial body. And so we've had conversations this week of saying how important this is. We expect to hear from him that it is important to all chambers across the province, and we'll be providing leadership along with the OCC on that. So I mean, we're going to do what we can. What legislatively can happen? I mean, is the only way this can be solved now that the provincial Liberal government actually comes to understand there's a problem and puts a government bill forward? Is that ultimately the only thing that's going to solve this problem now?
Well, I think we all agree that there's a problem. We know that. You heard from the CAO at Sault Ste. Marie that they've been trapped by this for decades, and that local companies who have qualified workers that live and pay taxes in their community are shut out from bidding on this infrastructure that they need in their community. And so, you know what, that hasn't hit the region, but it will potentially when the Labor Board rules against the region just shortly. So, yeah, a government bill would obviously be the next step if they were so wanting to do that. But, you know, yesterday was their opportunity to actually get it in committee and advance this important issue that was supported resoundingly by municipalities. That was their chance, and they said no. So I don't expect to see it come up. I think the only way you'll see it actually become a government bill is if, I'll say it, if a Tim Hudak Ontario PC government is elected, and I've got that commitment from our leader to bring this issue forward if he was premier.
Well, you know what? This is we've indicated to, and as I said, to Horvath and to Sousa, we've said the same thing through you. Is this will be the number one and only issue for us that we focus on until it's solved. Because while labor arbitration and there are other issues that are important to the chamber, this is one that impacts everybody. So,
well, guys, thanks for doing that. This is again not a union or a non-union issue. It's an issue of fairness, and the members you represent, I think, will be well served by your voice being added to this conversation.
Well, and we thank you, Michael, for bringing the attention to it as well. And you know, it's just really unfortunate. Nothing has really crawled under my skin quite like this, and you know, Ian and I, you know, for sure, you heard it from him, you can hear it from me. We're never going to stop until this is solved.
Well, I thank you for the folks that were at Queen's Park yesterday. Many of our local businesses, including the chamber representatives, were there to see and hear the debate and show their support, and I thank the chamber for getting involved.
All right. Well, Greg, your anger is shared by the CAO of the city of Sault Ste. Marie, Joe Fratese. He is our next guest. Thank you, Michael. Joe is our next guest as Business to Business, powered by Save On Energy, continues on 570 News.
We'll be right back with more Business to Business, powered by Save On Energy. Call in with your questions at star 570, 570-2545 or 1-800-570-5715. What you know. It's who you know. Connecting community through business. This is Business to Business on 570 News, powered by Save On Energy.
Welcome back to Business on 570 News, powered by Save On Energy. And joining us now is Joe Fratese. He is the CAO of the city of Sault Ste. Marie. He is also joined by John Luska, Commissioner of Human Resources for the beautiful city of Sault Ste. Marie. You're on with Ian and Greg.
Hi, Joe. It's Ian McLean. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. We are experiencing some of the same issues that in the regional Waterloo that you and the Sioux have been dealing with for a number of years. So tell us about what the obligation to negotiate or to contract with only those that have a relationship with the Carpenters Union has meant to Sault Ste. Marie.
Well, back in 1986 or 7, the city undertook a project through, I guess, a government program to assist steel workers who had been laid off. And we used city staff to sort of supervise, but we went out and we were obliged to hire, again, laid off steel workers who were paid basically minimum wage. And the project that we decided to put them to work on was a fish hatchery for the community. None of these were our permanent employees, but they certainly were supervised by an employee of the city for this project. While they were working, they were approached by Carpenters International and Laborers International to sign up to join a union. And the process then started. The city was supposed to have its day before the board. We had a confusion with the dates, and our legal representative was not there. At the end of the day, certification followed that these two unions would be in relationship with the city for any off-road construction projects that the city became involved in. So it's been well over 20, almost 25 years now, where any project that the city undertakes, and we've had an arena, an entertainment center, an indoor golf facility, a sewage treatment plant, all major capital works, with minimum $25 million price tags to them, where many of our own local general contractors who are quite capable of doing the work, but who are not affiliated with these two unions have been barred from bidding the city's work. More recently, we have now been involved before the Labor Board regarding a building that our Public Utilities Commission built, new office building of $25 million, where they are an entity separately governed by a board, and while the city is the only shareholder, it's an autonomous arrangement. They negotiate their own contracts, they have their own unions, they undertake their own projects. There has been a challenge because they did not use a contractor who was in that same affiliation. They've been challenged because they are believed to be a related corporation who also is bound by that. So there are new dimensions being added to this. We invariably have probably as many as 12 or maybe even more large construction firms locally who could do the work that we put out, and it's really a list that has been whittled down to probably only 2 local contractors. And while we do have a lot of outside contractors who are eligible because they do have the affiliation, what we have when we put major contracts out for bid is no more than 2 local general contractors and possibly a handful of out-of-town general contractors bidding our work. We know out-of-town contractors are generally more expensive by very nature of them having to come in and pay housing and pay travel and pay the like of that. And we know that the local contractors who are capable of bidding because of their affiliation probably believe that they have a captive audience, and we know that we are not getting competitive pricing on our major contracts because of the limited pool of contractors who are able to bid.
Joe, if you know that, then you must have some sort of number that goes with that. What do you think the impact has been from the perspective of Sault Ste. Marie, the city, in dollars and cents?
John, you may have, and it'll only be a guesstimate because we never have been able to. There's no science to that calculation. But
no.
Yeah, I mean it's hard to calculate an exact number when you don't get competitive bids in the first place to compare prices.
Yep.
But I would say pretty safely that upbidding is about 30% higher cost to the taxpayer.
Wow.
That means there's less projects being completed for citizens than would if just because of competitive bidding. So this isn't really a union non-union, and I guess that's one of the questions that will come up. And we've said, both Greg and I in our chamber, obviously it's important to the region of Waterloo, but this is an important provincial issue. We're going to be on this until the problem's solved. So. But this really is not union non-union. You would be happy with a competitive process that allowed any of your local or provincial construction firms to bid as long as whether they had a relationship with a union or not. Is that a fair statement? Because that's certainly our position. We just want to have all of qualified bidders an opportunity to put their best foot forward.
That is exactly the position that the city of Sault Ste. Marie has had for the last 25 years. And notwithstanding the fact that the bill failed yesterday, we have this matter before our council on Monday night, and while there will be some members of council who are affiliated with the labor movement who will think that it would be a moot point to have the debate, we want council to hear from those who are going to travel to our community. And there are unions who will be traveling to our community to make sure council understands that they too are barred from working, in our projects because there's a monopoly only with 1 or 2 unions. Yes, this is very much about opening it up so that union, non-union, whoever is capable of doing the job and who can provide us with the best price is allowed to come to the table and offer their bid.
You are listening to Business on 570 News. We're in conversation with Joe Fratese, CAO of the City of Sault Ste. Marie, and John Liska, who is the city's Commissioner of Human Resources.
Joe and John, certainly as Ian and I take it forward, the Greater KW Chamber of Commerce, the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce, on to our provincial body, the Ontario Chamber, and certainly fighting this all the way through. We certainly would love to have your support along the way and being able to keep in touch so that, we can get updated information. But, I guess from my perspective, I look at this and say, you've got AMO, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, your a representative body, who have supported this bill 73 that was brought forward as a private member's bill, and yet you've got the House that sits there and virtually votes against the wishes of their partners, which are municipalities putting the infrastructure in.
And I think that being said, all of us agree with that. Private members' bills are never well received by the party in power because it makes it appear that someone else is running the show. I would expect
maybe someone else should be.
But Joe, that's politics, and that's what we're trying to get to. This bill is not about politics. This is about people.
I understand that completely, and I had this discussion with my member just yesterday. Where I encouraged him, because I think the Liberal Party has been led to believe that the arbitration of your case, which is to be heard later this fall, may give some opening for municipalities to opt out. I don't believe that for a second.
No,
I don't believe
way.
that any arbitrator, has the wherewithal to do that or the gumption to do that. I believe that nothing will come of that except for a very specific determination of that particular grievance. I believe that following that, all of us will have the ability to deal with the government and put them on notice that this is something that is bigger than just the 4 or 5 municipalities. It's got the support of AMO, which represents all of the municipalities.
Yeah.
It happened in Sault Ste. Marie. It's happened in your area. It could easily happen in some other area.
Yeah. Well, it will happen. It's not may happen.
Well, you know what? This is not going to go away. And Joe, we appreciate you and John coming on today. We'll be in touch because this is an issue that we'll keep talking about on the radio and with our chambers and working with our partners, the City of Kitchener, the Region of Waterloo's on board, the AMO. We'll be going and we need to take the politics out of this and say this hurts taxpayers and business ratepayers because they're not getting value for money, and it's all about politics. So we appreciate you coming on. We will be in touch, and we do. Please let us know how things go on Monday night with your council, because the more we put pressure on, and I agree with you, on the government and all parties to say there's a problem here that needs to be fixed, and it's something that all parties should get behind.
Right. Joe and John, thank you so much for your time today.
Good luck, and yes, we agree with you 100%.
All right.
Thank you.
We're coming
Thank
back
you.
with more as Business to Business, powered by Save on Energy, continues on 570 News.
Business to Business, powered by Save on Energy, a presentation of 570 News. Watch the live video webcast at 570news.com. We'll return with more Business to Business. Not just what you know, it's who you know. Connecting community through business. This is Business to Business on 570 News, powered by Allstream. All local, all relevant, allstream.com. Here's your host, Glenn Pelletier.
Welcome back to Business on 570 News, powered by Save on Energy, and joined in conversation with Ian and Greg. Ian McLean, greater president.
I'm a greater president than Greg.
Greater president than
that's finally been
Washington. I don't know. The Greater Kitchener Waterloo Chamber of Commerce president, and Greg DeRocher is the president of the Cambridge Chamber. There was a lot of frustration being expressed this afternoon, guys, about the defeat of Bill 73. Clearly, Mr. Harris, you can understand his frustration. It was his bill, the Fair and Open Tendering Act, which was defeated this week by the Liberals and NDP in the House. And then Joe Fertizzi, who has seen the effects of this kind of, for lack of a better word, a monopoly, the effect on the city of Sault Ste. Marie.
And it's Greg, too bad we couldn't keep Alan Adet, the president and CEO of the Ontario Chamber.
Yeah, he placed a call.
He was on his cell phone, but he's been traveling.
He's traveling, and we know, because Ian and I, really have brought that to the attention of the Ontario Chamber of Commerce. and last week sometime, and we know that they haven't had a chance to really refine their strategies and attack, but they're certainly working on that. It would have been great to have Alan on as a precursor to that, but we'll certainly get Alan on in our coming shows to make sure he can convey what they're doing.
Greg, you were really upset earlier today on the show about the defeat of this bill.
Well, you know what? Let me tell you something. The reason I'm really upset, twofold. First of all, there are a lot of members of our chambers of commerce
Absolutely.
that are going to be excluded from being
Most
able
of
to.
our members.
Most of our
Most
members
of
are
our
going to be
yeah.
excluded from tendering on any municipal projects in jurisdictions where this relationship with the Carpenters Union exists. And the problem is, everybody should be up in arms. We should have people trampling, regular people, not business owners, because this could have a profound impact on property taxes in municipalities.
Yeah.
Taxes could go up because as soon as you take a pool of tenders from 27 down to 2, you know what happens to price. Everybody knows that. You broaden your net of getting a lower price on a project, the more you broaden your opportunities for tendering. Municipalities are going to be restricted. And so what are the guys going to do that are sitting there saying, well, we're one of only 2. Let's jack the prices up.
Yeah, this is the part that has got me, and I'm really disappointed. I had an opportunity, as I said earlier, to talk with Andrea Horvath, and frankly, what was a little surprising, she wasn't even really aware of the issue, and her local MPP here is well aware of it, and had brought it to her attention. Charles Sousa was was not aware of how important this was to the region of Waterloo. So I think that what we have to do, and when we have Alan come back on, is highlight along with the OCC, that this is not just a Waterloo region issue, because that's what I think the NDP leader and the finance minister from the province of Ontario really thought this was a local issue. This will affect everyone, because what we've just seen or heard from Joe is when a municipality gets covered by one of these, it's now, oh my goodness, well, your local utility, even though it's a private separate company, no, we're going to consider that to be part of your municipality. And I think what we basically heard from Joe was there's a possibility they'll pay twice for the same building to a union that never did work on it because they were supposed to be.
It's ridiculous.
And it's absolutely.
And you're saying, you're saying, Greg, you hinted at it a moment ago. This could put upward pressure on our taxes because is it as simple as a municipality has to pay more, and so they have to get the money from somewhere?
Or you're going to get less services.
Or you're going to get less services. They're not going to be able to do and we're already have an infrastructure deficit, and if we put that pressure on, it's just going to get worse. This is ridiculous. This bill lost 50-30, meaning there were 50 members of the provincial legislature who said fairness and opening tendering is not a priority in this province. And that is ridiculous. I don't care if you're a member of the parties that voted against it. You should be up in arms because, quite frankly, it might just affect your job.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the thing is, property taxes are affected in as much as this. They can keep them at the rates they would be. What you're going to have is less infrastructure and less services for the dollars that you get. Or if they say, geez, we have to build a wastewater sewage plant because otherwise it harms the environment, we have to do that. Oops, it's going to cost more, so your taxes go up. Take your pick. Those are the two options. And anyone that argues different is whistling past the graveyard. So, this is what we've said to Alan, and we really appreciate that the OCC has got seized of this issue, and thanks to this being highlighted by our two chambers, we are not letting this go. It's not a regional issue. This is a provincial issue, and we will be on this. And quite legitimately, arbitration, other things we've highlighted before are important, but this is the number one issue.
Hey, we have a major project going on in this region right now, the LRT project, $800 million project. That could be the tipping point to keep that within budget or not.
Yeah, absolutely. So our local officials, our local MPPs have better come to the table and understand that we have to solve this problem. And we don't, frankly, from my perspective, I don't care who solves it, but it needs to be solved. And so we are going to keep the pressure on absolutely everyone. Yeah. And it will be the issue that gets asked at every all candidates meeting that we host. And we host 3 of them because we represent 3 ridings. You have 2. Those 5 ridings are going to get nothing.
All right,
but
guys.
where are we at on this issue?
We will definitely talk more about Bill 73 and its defeat going forward. But looking ahead now and briefly looking back at the Greater KW Chamber of Commerce, you had
huge
another
event
successful Inspiring Women event.
The 7th annual Inspiring Women's Forum or event yesterday or Thursday at Bingham's, and Greg and his chamber helped promote that event for us. So there were 600 senior business women from small, medium, and large-sized businesses from across the region, from Kitchener-Waterloo, Cambridge, and beyond. And we had a fabulous day. We had Christine McGee and Linda Hasenfratz, and our keynote was Jeannie Becker, who gave a fabulous talk about how to own your own, and many for small business, how to own your own brand and how to develop yourself. And she really is a trailblazer. I mean, you think about much music, fashion, having her own design, and just being and managing to do it all. So it was a fabulous day. I mean, I must admit, I was one of only maybe 4 or 5 men in the room, but it was it was an inspiring day, and you could feel the energy. So we were pleased
perfectly
with that.
positioned.
I was.
Ian, yes.
And we have just quickly, we have our annual meeting at the Center for International Governance Innovation on Monday, and so we're looking forward to celebrating and having a great networking event. So it's free for our members, and we encourage everyone to come by from 5:30 to 7 or 3:30 to 5:30.
Probably what's really important, Glenn, is, as you well know, our next show is Ian and I are going to be live from Kelowna. You're going to be in here holding down the fort.
And that's the meeting of the Canadian Chamber.
Canadian Chamber of Commerce annual general meeting and policy conference. So we'll be live there. We're going to try and get some guests on there, maybe even Perrin Beatty, the president of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce.
Is it all
if we can get him up that early in the morning.
Is it all work and no play because you're in beautiful Okanagan?
All work, no play.
No tours of any of the vineyards?
No tours, nothing.
We wouldn't do it. Wouldn't be prudent. We're got to stay focused on work.
Focused. In fact, we'll wear sunglasses when we're on our way from the hotel to the convention.
All right. We'll look forward to that next Sunday. Ian and Greg live from Kelowna, British Columbia, as they attend the AGM of the Canadian Chamber of Commerce. Thank you for listening to Business, powered by Save on Energy. Thanks to Ian and Greg, presidents of their respective chambers, the Greater Kitchener-Waterloo Chamber and the Cambridge Chamber of Commerce. This has been Business, powered by Save on Energy on 570 News.